Okay, video's going, I believe. Should be. Or
I believe in a thing called love.
I hope so.
I believe in a thing called love.
And welcome back to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football Season 2. It's time to get back into rookies. This is where we started last year when we launched the podcast. We now have video, so if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you joining us.
There will be visual aids for at least one player today. We'll try to get more of that worked in as I make them, but it's a learning experience once again. So as always, we are professionals.
Kind of.
Not really.
We do our best. We try real hard.
It'll be a cluster, but it'll be worth it.
So as always, we are at Beerfield FF. Joined here, I am at Nick Sparts. Dan Theory across the table from me.
At Theory BFF, what's going on, Beerfield family?
And to my left, rocking the eliminated team on his head, is Christopher Hopper.
Yeah. First time in 10 seasons I got to stomach that. How are y'all doing, though? Good to see you. Speaking of hockey, Nick was wearing a Wild hoodie when he got here. I'm in a Blackhawks hat. NFL Garbage Time just started a hockey podcast.
Yes, you did. Friends of ours, Ryan Whitfield.
Yep, so make sure you check that out. I believe it's called Third Man In, so give that a listen.
Yep, and we retweeted that on Friday, and we'll probably tweet out a few more of those episodes because we like those guys a lot.
Yours truly has a standing invite to show up whenever he wants and join them, so...
They may retract that quickly.
After the first
After
time,
one episode, what the fuck did we do?
Yep.
We've made a horrible mistake. All right. Well, it's time for rookies. We got about 5 weeks here before the NFL draft. I believe actually when this episode drops, it's exactly 30 days before the draft on the 26th of April. Ooh. So we're going to go ahead and jump through some news on the Monday episodes, and then Wednesday is going to be strictly rookie prospects. Today we're starting with the quarterbacks, and we're going to go through Tier 1 and Tier 2 QBs for you guys. Shall we hit it up with some beer preview first, though?
Beer Fuel.
I'm thinking it was picked strictly for the name.
I smell sex and candy. I didn't. But
yep, Sex and Candy by
That's why I picked it.
By 18th Street Brewery, India Pale Ale. I don't really know much about them, Dan. Did you do any research on them before you brought them on?
Oops.
I
thought that's what you do though.
That is normally what you do.
It is normally what I do. I didn't see the cans until we were literally leaving.
Damn it, Nick.
All right, we're not prepared or organized. I mean, he said what it was in the group chat 4 days ago.
He said Sex and Candy. I didn't know what the brewery was or anything.
You could have Googled it, I'm sure. Just Google Sex and Candy. It'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to find a bunch of music videos from the 90s.
No, not at all.
All right, so that's the beer we've got on 18th Street. This is their first time on. We've not had any of their stuff before. We'll give you a full review once we get through the Tier 1 quarterbacks. We've got a bunch of very strange news this week, so let's get through that first.
News.
Oh my god. Are we in an 80s music video?
Couldn't do that quite the way I wanted to do that, but we made it work.
Hopper, you're having way too much fun with this new sound mixing.
I am. It's going to be good. Season 2, some new drops. We're keeping some old ones, though.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun, so expect to see. Is that going to stay around all Season 2?
Until I'm sick of it, and then it might change.
All right.
We'll see.
We'll see. So it'll be around TBA.
Yeah.
All right, up first, we have the strange news of Zay Jones. He was arrested Monday night in Los Angeles, charged with felony vandalism. There was video of him running around naked and apparently tried to jump out of a 30th story window, and his brother stopped him.
And was saying it was for Jesus or something like that. That's drugs, I think.
Yeah, some are saying bath salts.
It was either drugs or a mental breakdown.
Either way, I hope that he gets the help that he needs. He was a talented prospect coming out of college. Didn't have the rookie year that we wanted him to have, but you'd hate to see that be the last we hear from him. So I'm glad he's okay, glad he's safe. I think his dad tweeted out last week that he was with them, so hopefully he gets the help he needs and gets his stuff right.
Yeah, it was very scary. Definitely kind of freaked me out just watching it, and hope he can get his self together here and get himself ready for his sophomore season, because this is supposed to be a big one for him.
Yep. Right.
All right, Jets agree to terms with Terrell Pryor. I believe it was a 2-year, $8 million deal, if I saw right.
Yeah.
It was like 1 for $5 or something. Maybe it was 2 years. Because I thought he was doing another prove it deal.
Oh, he's trying to do the prove it deal again.
Well,
That'll
2.0.
work well.
Either way, if Robbie Anderson is by the wayside and just completely gone, or suspended or whatever, Terrell Pryor's probably a pretty decent replacement. He's reunited with Josh McCown.
He's got less competition to beat out. I mean, I don't know if we really believe in Robbie Anderson so much. Jermaine Kearse,
Yeah, and then they have a couple
Quincy Newell,
second-year players there.
They have I think someone posted they have 14 receivers on roster right now.
I guess they're going to spend money on somebody, and it's all going to mediocre receivers.
So you're going to draft
Right.
like 3 more this year now too, probably.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. All right, anything on that, or is that just a watch situation?
That's just a watch
yeah.
situation. I'm not going to run out and be like, oh, my God, go get him. But
All right. Frank Gore signed to a 1-year contract by the Dolphins, so he'll be the second running back there in Miami. I still expect one more to come in to round out that trio. Probably a 4th or 5th round rookie pick would be my expectation.
yeah.
Probably just a pass catcher to replace Damian Williams.
So bigger
Signed
pass
with the
catcher.
Chiefs. Yeah. We can also talk about the quarterback that got signed.
Do we have to?
No, we don't. Moving on.
Yeah, anyway.
So Brock Osweiler was signed. No, we don't want to talk about it.
And no one cares.
Cowboys signed Deontay Thompson to a 1-year, $2.5 million contract. Looks Bryce Butler replacement.
Yeah, well, maybe until you get to the other Cowboys news.
Martellus Bennett announced his retirement from the NFL.
That wasn't what I was talking about.
I was going to get to that in a moment.
Yeah, the less annoying of the two Bennett brothers at this point. I'm assuming we're getting to that later also.
I was going to leave you the option of saving it for another time.
No.
Hence Wednesday's episode.
Yeah, it's the Bennett brother that didn't push over a 66-year-old security guard. So he was a productive Bear for a bit. Still, one less Bennett is a good thing for the NFL.
Yeah, maybe we can stop hearing about them. That'd be fun.
Probably will.
Seahawks re-signed Mike Davis to a 1-year contract, so once again, that backfield gets busier again.
I expected this, though.
Why?
And rumors they're going to draft somebody, too.
Why?
Probably pretty high.
Because they want Chris Carson-Owners to cry.
And CJ Procise, too.
Jaguars released wide receiver Alan Hearns. He signs with the Cowboys for a 2-year, $12 million deal.
This is your Bryce Butler replacement, I think.
I think this is your Terrence Williams replacement.
Terrence Williams isn't gone yet, is he?
No, but I think he should cease to exist.
He should have ceased to exist for Bryce Butler for a long time, but he didn't. So I don't want to own any secondary wide receiver that is in Dallas.
Yeah, I think this helps Dak, but Hearns I'm not in love with as a prospect
Got to
there.
stay healthy.
No, and Thompson's flashed some games, and then he's dropped some passes and all types of stuff. So
I mean, he was a Chicago Bear. That is the MO.
it is the MO is dropping touchdown passes if you're a Bear.
And then lastly, the Jaguars released vested tight end Mercedes Lewis after 11 years, I believe, with the
It
Jaguars.
was 11 or 12. It was a long time.
That's impressive.
He was there when Fred Taylor was still playing.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that is impressive.
He's been in there for a long time. So
That's
you
pretty
figure
nuts.
it could be a career for him?
I don't think the interest in him is going to be very high.
I don't either.
There's not a ton of super tight end needy teams, and there's a couple good ones in this draft.
He's going to Baltimore.
Yeah,
Probably.
It's where old tight ends go to rest.
Yeah. Go to die.
But then the Godfather will get him
I thought he got cut. I'm pretty sure he got cut.
for now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For now.
for
He'll
now.
come back and break some kneecaps.
He'll blackmail his way
So-
into a new contract.
What do they have at tight end?
Who?
Baltimore.
Max Williams
That's it?
Nick Boyle.
Oh.
and Nick Boyle. I think that's it.
Yeah.
They cut the one guy's a free
They
agent.
re-signed Crockett Gilmore.
Yeah, but he's switching to tackle.
I know. Yeah.
So yeah, they have. It's
They're
basically
going to
Max
draft
Williams
somebody because they missed out on both Ebron and Jimmy Graham
and ASJ.
and ASJ. So
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Either
hopefully-
way.
I don't think they go in with just Max with 2 X's Williams. So
Max
It-
almost porn star, 2 Williams.
He should switch it to 3 X's and just go into porn.
Max is it.
Max. Mamis.
All right. Shall we get into quarterbacks?
Oh, yeah. It's that time already. I don't have the news up in front of me. I was completely not ready for that. Let's go.
Draft preview.
Going back to the 80s.
This is my most excited part about starting season 2 is getting to listen to new drafts.
That's true. By the way, we're on season 2. If you guys haven't noticed.
Yeah, this is season 2. Nothing will change, but it's season 2.
Well, hey,
Well,
we're on video.
sorry, we've
There's
got
new drops.
Video. We've got new drops. Some things are changing.
We're refining. Completely refined our scoring and evaluation system for rookies. Things
this
have
is-
changed.
This is going to be a lot more organized than last year, and it's not going to sound like fresh air, open air,
Oh man.
whatever it was.
It was NPR's Fresh Air, yes.
Yeah, okay. It's not going to sound like that.
All right. So the way we split it, let's first actually go over our scoring system. We're scoring from 1 to 9. 9 would be the best prospect you've ever goddamn seen. A 1 would be
The worst
how did he
prospect
get out of
you've
high
ever
school?
goddamn-
How do you get elementary?
Does he even tie his own shoes?
Yes. A 5 is technically the middle, but if a player scores a 5 in these metrics, he is not an NFL quality prospect. 5 would be he was an okay college player, has no business being in the NFL.
I think we all had problems rating people lower towards 1, perhaps. I think there's like one person in any metric that I put below a 5, maybe 2.
Just the way I just viewed it as such a drop off. In my head too, I was doing it like a 9 is an A+.
Yeah.
And then 0% would be a 1. So
Yeah.
So in season 3, we'll be a lot better at this.
we probably will be.
We'll continue to improve, but we have some numbers that are arbitrary completely on these that we're done in what categories for quarterbacks? Do you have that handy?
Yep. Quarterback categories. Size. So that would be height, weight, and hand size would be the big 3 things for that. Athleticism. Pocket play. So that's their ability to read pressure, ability to throw from the pocket.
Yeah, it's not what you did in high school under your desk.
Yep. Accuracy, arm strength, decision making, and then overall mechanics, which would include arm motion and footwork.
Our motion, footwork, things that are mechanic-y stuff.
Yes. So we scored each one of those and then give players an overall score. I know for me, I would give a player a bump over what their average was if I saw a couple really elite traits, and I would punish somebody if I saw somebody with just a bunch of poor traits. So I did deviate from the average on those, and I think you guys did some
We all did.
similar
I did
stuff.
mine
We all
like
did.
on size and potential and upside or what
Yeah.
their fantasy value may be.
Yeah, and there are things like injury history and things like that that got wrapped into the overall score.
All right.
But the 7 metrics gave us the baseline for
Where we want
And
to
it just
we were
gave us
using.
make sure we were all looking at the same things when we were evaluating tape
Yep.
and numbers on these
instead
guys.
of being completely arbitrary like we were last year.
So with that, I kind of broke it into half-point tiers. So if a guy, and we didn't have anybody higher than 7.5 on our consensus average. Everyone else, we will when we get to running back and wide receiver and tight end because there's some better players than that. Just looking at this class before you get into the names here, was anybody from the previous class higher than the highest person in this class?
Mahomes would be my only one, I think.
Mahomes, yeah, and I could see like Trubisky and Watson falling in maybe in between the first and second tier here.
Okay, so Mahomes would have been slightly higher, and then towards the back end of this tier would have been where Trubisky and Watson were, and Kaiser too.
Yeah, in this top tier, they're about the same.
Yeah, I agree. I would have had Mahomes higher than anybody in this class, not by a
close.
ton.
It would have been close with Mayfield. But
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel this class is actually deeper than last year's.
it's definitely deeper because
It's a lot more intriguing with some of these tier 2 and tier 3 quarterbacks that we'll be talking about.
Yeah, there are some intriguing names after the big 4 that everybody's been talking about.
Yeah, whereas last year was the Big Four and it was a cliff afterward.
It was a massive cliff.
Yeah, because you get to the guys that were after that, it was like what, Nathan Peterman and Davis Webb and
That was about it.
Yeah.
Everyone else after that was really awful.
and those guys would have been at the back end of this class.
Yeah, those would have been probably tier 3 guys in this class.
Yep.
All right, well, let's get into the tier 1 quarterbacks. Dan already said the top player on our list. It is Baker Mayfield. He comes in at 7.5 out of 9 for us, which puts him at a first. That would be a first-round grade for any other position, but with the positional scarcity of quarterbacks, he does jump up into your top probably 5 picks is what we'd evaluate him at. I do think 4 quarterbacks are going in the first 5 picks in this draft, though, because of how teams are starting to trade up into those slots.
I'm interested to see what Buffalo does because the Giants have come out and said that they're not going to draft a quarterback at
Well,
2 if it's not.
they
Sam
didn't say
Darnold.
that. A beat reporter for them
Well,
said
fine
that.
then, but sure. So for me, it's 4 in the top 10. I think 5 in the top 15. I do think Jackson does sneak in.
Yep. And then I think there's a shot that somebody will sneak in and take the somebody at the back end of the first. So I could see 6 quarterbacks in the first round.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're
good.
talking into the side of your mic.
I was,
and
so my bad.
These don't pick up the side of.
Nope. Stan's not very smart.
So there's an adjustment there.
So Baker Mayfield is the number one quarterback in this class for us. He was number one for you two. He was my number 2 overall, but it was real close between him and my number 1 overall player, which we'll get to momentarily. What'd you guys think about Baker Mayfield? What'd you like, not like?
So
Some blind comparisons.
yeah, I've got so blind comparison results. By the way, I actually don't have these in my notes, but I tweeted out a comparison between player A, B, and C. Player A was Baker Mayfield, 68.5 completion percent, 14,607 yards, 131 pass TDs. I'm not going to read the stat lines off. I tweeted out a comparison, though, between Baker Mayfield, Drew Brees, and Russell Wilson. So same size, all 4-year college players. I think they all were within 2 games of each other in games played in college.
Yep.
And at this point, that poll has 536 votes on it. And it's Baker Mayfield at 86% over Russell Wilson at 13 and Drew Brees at 2. Based on numbers alone, numbers are only part of the story. But as long as we're on numbers, Baker Mayfield's the only player since the year 2000 at least to throw for more than 130 touchdowns while rushing for over 1,000 yards and more than 20 touchdowns with a 68% completion percentage. So he's a guy that can use his legs but also use his arm. But I don't want to soapbox too much, so I'll kick it off to Dan here in a second. But I think the biggest thing I loved about him is just the ball zips out of his hands. It's effortless.
He has a his throwing velocity per player profile was 60 miles an hour, 97th percentile. He's got a fucking cannon of an arm, but he does show a lot of touch. There's a point in time though where you have to put aside size. What he does on the field is tremendous. Mm-hmm. People say his deep ball accuracy isn't that great. Well, per PFF, his adjusted deep ball accuracy, number 1 out of this class, 64.4%.
I think his non-adjusted is too. I'm just looking through my notes right now, and yeah, his
these
regular
are passes
percent
of a 20 or more yards in the air, and I don't need a quarterback that can throw 70 yards on the field. It's great, but you see a lot more 45, 50 as the true deep ball throws, and Mayfield is fantastic at doing that. He's a little shoddy in the pocket, as we all can probably agree with. He has a tendency to want to either take too long with his reads, or he kind of just runs around or moves around a little bit too much. But he's great at just getting rid of the football before he takes a sack.
Well, he was great at moving around pressure, or I saw him get hit and bounce off guys.
Yeah, he's very
like Carson Wentz,
he's
like
very
wormhole.
stout. He's very stout for even though he's a little smaller for an NFL quarterback. That's one note that I had down is he would bounce defenders off of him. He's not easy to take down.
I mean, he's 215 at 6 foot. That's decently thick.
Yeah. He's a very stout player, even though he's not tall.
Yeah, it's not like he's coming in at 6 foot 190. He's not skinny. He's just short.
Yeah, and he's got that it factor. He's got that swagger, that thing you can't teach, that attitude that people are either going to love or hate. It's a lot like Cam Newton. People are either going to love it or hate it. I personally love it.
Yeah, I mean, so he came into the league with Texas Tech in just college football.
Yep.
He walked on. Some paperwork shit happened. He has to leave Texas Tech.
And he started as a walk-on, as
he
a
started
freshman.
As a walk-on, a true freshman walk-on. Some paperwork shit happens. He has to get let go. He walks on to Oklahoma and starts there immediately. He walks on and earns in 2 different Power 5 teams who has a tendency to, recruit some
really
pretty
good
fucking
quarterbacks.
good quarterbacks there. And he earns it at 6'1". He earns this shit. And
no, 6 foot even. He's not even 6'1".
Either way, he has a chip on his shoulder. Yes, he has an attitude problem, but I want my quarterback to have some fucking swagger to him. I want a guy that can walk onto the field. The whole team loves him.
Yeah.
And everything I've heard, too, in terms of at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine, he was running up trying to make things happen. He was always energetic. He wasn't loafing. He was working his ass off. All this knock on him, like being personality-wise, he doesn't come... I hate the Johnny Manziel comparison with him.
If anyone says that he's the next Johnny Manziel, you are fucking dead to me.
It's lazy.
It is lazy because it's size, but then what? Because they both had a bit of swagger, but then he doesn't have the off-field issues that Manziel did. He had one drinking thing happen?
Yeah, where he mouthed off to a cop and did a couple dumb things.
He got some community service hours. Fine, he was young. He learned.
He wasn't snorting cocaine or doing half the shit that Johnny Manziel was doing.
Yeah, and he doesn't. And while he strikes me as confident, there was a different level of arrogance to Manziel that I don't see out of Mayfield.
And he had one good year? I think maybe 2. Yeah, 2 good years.
Manziel had 2 good years.
Yeah. Mayfield's had
4.
And
4 great years with 2 different teams as a walk-on.
And then if we're getting past that too, just Mayfield's a much better prospect in terms of his ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing to not like about him. Just kind of as he's mobile, he's accurate, he's got hella good arm strength.
I mean, the only knock I'd have on him besides height, which we've already talked about, would be it's an extremely advantageous offense. He was thrown to Mark Andrews, who's going to be one of the top 3 or 4 tight ends in this class. His receivers were very good last year. A couple went to the NFL, D.D. Westbrook. This year, he's going to have a couple guys who probably will end up in the NFL within a few seasons. So it's a great offense to be in. It's advantageous to him, but he took advantage of it. So I'm not going to blame him for that.
Wherever he lands, we've started to see, in the NFL, these coordinators and coaches are starting to change their scheme or build their scheme around their quarterback. It's not this, I have my scheme, I have to get my guy for this scheme. It's, I'm going to draft this quarterback and I'm going to, build my scheme around him, which is where Mayfield could shine in a West Coast styled offense where it's a lot of, mobile 15, 20-yard throws. And you can even, keep building that scheme around that and make him even a better quarterback.
And you can knock the people that are saying, well, he had really good receivers. It was an advantageous offense. Not just a scheme fit, but what NFL team is going to take a quarterback and be like, okay, cool, we're good. We're not putting any wide receivers around him or anything.
Exactly.
We're fine.
Yeah, we're done.
We're good.
We're set.
We're okay. We're set. We don't need any other weapons.
Yeah, everything else to defense.
He made Dimitri Flowers look like a good receiving back in some of these games.
Yeah.
And he pretty fucking garbage.
Yeah.
So
yep, can't argue there.
He does have the ability to make players better around him, but that's
Baker Mayfield. I like him a lot. I think he should go top 5 in this draft. I think he probably will end up going top 5. And in terms of immediate impact, I think he is the best start him day 1 quarterback in this class.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So to knock that Josh Rosen narrative, which we'll get to momentarily.
Oh, I can't wait to knock that Josh Rosen narrative. It's going to be my second favorite player tear down of this episode.
Hopper, it's Josh Rosen.
No, that'll be Lamar Jackson.
I'm going to be defending Lamar Jackson, but we'll get to that in a bit. Sam Darnold is up next. He got 7.3 out of 9, which puts him just a tick below Baker Mayfield. Overall, I was the highest on him. I thought I just saw a ton of ability on tape for him. I liked his anticipation, his ability to avoid pressure, which if a guy can avoid pressure that when he's constantly under duress, that's kind of my number one, you get my gold star of the class. That was what Mahomes did last year too. And I just see so much upside dripping from him. He showed great mechanics outside of the weird arm motion thing, but we've seen guys like Phillip Rivers with fucked up arm motions go and succeed in the NFL. So I'm not going to knock him too much for that. Great size, and I just loved everything I saw out of him. Even better in his 2016 tape when he had a better offensive line and weapons. 17, he was under significantly more duress and just kind of making the best of it.
I thought I saw a mix of the things in Darnold that everybody that you like out of Rosen and out of Josh Allen. And the way that I put it down was if Josh Allen is Jack Daniels and Josh Rosen is Coke, Sam Darnold's like a Jack and Coke but made with diet, and maybe like Jim Beam or something not quite as good.
Okay. I would personally prefer a Jim Beam and diet, but that's just me, I guess.
I like Jim Beam.
That's why you like Sam Darnold.
I like Jim Beam fine, but it's not well whiskey. Sam Darnold combines a lot of things, though. That's the athleticism, the ability to move in the pocket, and the arm talent that you kind of see out of Josh Allen. Now, it's not Josh Allen levels of raw ability, but it's definitely there with the ability to actually be a pocket passer that you see out of Rosen.
Yeah, he does. He definitely tried way too hard to make things happen sometimes. I think that was a lot to do with just how USC's defense wasn't that great this last year. They were giving up a lot of points, so he would be playing from behind and just trying to make things happen. And then the offensive line was under duress, so he'd be trying to escape pressure and just trying to make desperation type plays. But when he was getting time, it looked great. So if they can put him in a decent situation, I think he'll be in pretty good shape.
I want to see him sit behind a quarterback. I do want to see him go to New York just so he can sit behind Eli Manning, because for me, and this is what really jumped on his film, is that he's a different player when he plays under pressure. When there's guys that are in his face, he tends. This is where his decision making tends to lack more, and he tries to force a lot of throws. He can make every single throw, and he knows that, and that's where he can get himself into trouble. Is because he wants to make the play. He has that Brett Favre type of mentality to him.
Oh yeah, He's absolutely
He's very
a Favre
aggressive,
Winston
yes.
type.
And
he is.
That's my number one comp, for Darnold. I don't like making player comments, but sometimes when I see it on film, I like to make it, and that's just Jameis Winston. A guy who's going to throw a lot of touchdowns.
He's going to
have
win
some
you
big
games.
games, but he's going to make some terrible, what the fuck are you doing type of throws.
So-
And that's what's going to get him in trouble.
Well, and in his favor too, he's 20. He's the youngest QB in this class of the big guys at least. And I think he might be just the youngest. Period.
He's still got some time to develop. He's still got some time to learn, and that's a very advantageous thing for him. And I think that from what you see now, he's going to win a team some games for a long time to come. I think that he's, outside of Baker Mayfield, he's the best in this class.
I
think he has the highest upside for sure, just based on his size and just with his age, the fact that he still has a lot to learn. I love what I see from him. I just, especially last year, where his decision making took a massive, downturn, and he had 20 turnovers. I think he had 12 picks and 9 interceptions.
He's gonna have
one of those has to be fumbles.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he had 12 picks and 9 fumbles. I think is what it was.
Yeah, he fumbled a lot.
He's gonna have to learn to take what defenses can give him, but that give him or read things better. But that comes with experience, which
And that
is
also
something he
comes
doesn't
with
have a lot of. Yeah, and it comes with coaching.
Coaching and
It's
putting him in the right
huge
scheme.
for this. Yeah.
Yep. But I think he'll be fine.
Because from what I watched of USC last year, it was basically, all right, Darnold, go out and win the game, slap his ass, and let him just try to do shit.
Yeah.
And Ronald Jones try to chip as much as you possibly can. Because Darnold's about to get fucking killed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, big fan of him. I think he is going to go to the Browns number 1.
Yeah, and I don't hate that fit.
As long as they
but
get him a left
Tyrod's
tackle.
there, he doesn't have to start year 1, which I think is good.
No, and I don't think he will. I think that Dorsey bringing in Tyrod is so whoever they take doesn't have to.
Yep.
But
I think you will start year 1. It just won't be right away.
Depends how it depends if the Browns themselves. I expect them to a little bit, but I do expect Tyrod to be the
I think
starter.
Tyrod's fine to keep them competitive enough and keep Darnold off the field year 1 if that's where he goes.
As soon as Tyrod has a bad game or two, they'll yank him. So it'll probably be like week 9.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. So I think those are the 2 guys in this class that we can say we love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on, this is the kind of bottom half of the tier 1 quarterbacks.
This is I like them, but I'm not sure if I like them.
I don't like them where they're being, where they're going to be drafted is where.
Yeah, I think
see
these
these
are the
guys.
other 2 that I think go in the top 5, and I'm less excited about them.
More excited about one of them than the other one.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Though
exactly.
I still have issues with both.
Is it the same one though? Or are we?
You'll find out.
Yeah.
The one I like less is the one who's up next is Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I also like less.
He comes in with a grade of 7.1 out of 9. My biggest knocks on him were I did not see a single trait of his that I thought was elite.
Not exactly. Nothing jumps out. Everything's just kind of blah. He can escape pressure without leaving the pocket. Okay, that's a good thing. Intermediate and middle of the field accuracy is fine, but it's not otherworldly. His deep ball isn't fantastic. I mean, he's
He was okay arm strength.
just okay arm strength.
Intermediate accuracy was plus. Deep accuracy was starting to be kind of concerning.
Yep.
He, as you mentioned, not a great athlete. Once he started rolling out, too, the decision-making fell apart in a
He hates
hurry.
to run. It's already been stated he really hates to be mobile, which isn't great for the NFL.
No, it's not. He lacks pinpoint accuracy. That's another thing that jumped out at me. He wasn't so wild to where people couldn't make the catches, but his receivers had to adjust to a lot of his balls. He wasn't putting them in a place where it was easy for them to make plays.
Yeah, the only place he was really accurate is going to be between the hashes and about 15 yards out.
Yeah.
That's where he's really good. Anywhere outside of that, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And 2 other things that I noticed with him too. He's pretty bad at sensing pressure. I'm pretty sure the lineman that's running free could yell, "Hey, the tackle monster's coming. I'm gonna get you," and he still wouldn't know that they were there. And he's also the release point seemed a little low to me. I saw a lot of balls get batted down.
Yeah, release point definitely seemed low. He just... I was so frustrated watching his tape because I'm like, I get to watch Josh Rosen now. This will be fun. And I had no fun.
So I made the mistake and I watched Rosen, I think, fairly early. I believe Hopper and I jumped on our tapes really early.
And I ended up rewatching him.
I had to rewatch Rosen a few times. I liked him in the beginning. I thought that he was the most pro-ready when I first watched him. This was back in February.
And then I watched him again.
And then we changed our minds when we watched him again. Now, I'm not as low on him as these guys. I think he's going to bust based on where he's going to be drafted. And this is my biggest selling point is that I think he will succeed in the NFL. I think he will find a team that'll use him, but I think he's going to end up being a journeyman quarterback with a little more upside. Think of Ryan Tannehill or Andy Dalton, who shouldn't be starters where they're at, who should be more of a high-end backup. Nick Foles.
Well, I mean,
a little bit of Case Keenum in there too, but he's got more upside.
Well,
to that.
and that would be what teams like a team would prefer somebody better than Dalton or Tannehill, but that's just the state of the NFL for quarterbacks.
And this is the issue with NFL nowadays is that it's you have to have a top-end quarterback, and if you don't hit it, you have to keep trying. And this is where guys like Rosen, who I think should go more, back into the first round.
If we're still doing this in 4 or 5 years after his team declines his 5th-year option or whatever, we're going to be talking about him being plugged in someplace as a bridge quarterback.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I think he has enough upside to him where I think he can build a career based on that.
And on the other negative I was going to bring up too, he's already had a shoulder issue.
Yeah,
a lot of injury issue with him,
Yep.
and he's got some character concerns. He's had issues with mouthing off at like football camps when he was a kid. He's been entitled his whole fucking life. And he still carries that attitude where he has to be the best in the room and the smartest in the room. And given his size, he looks fairly thin on film.
No, and that's not going to transition well. So, fun note: list of quarterbacks, both successful and unsuccessful, that have played 30+ college games, but thrown for under 10,000 yards, under 60 touchdowns, less than 62% completion percentage, with 25 or more interceptions.
You're having way too much fun with this college football reference.
I am, but
I like
this is a good one, which is essentially comparable stat lines to Josh Rosen, basically. The successful ones: Matt Stafford, Matt Ryan, Jay Cutler.
Yep. And really what you're hoping for out of him is Ryan, and I don't see it.
The unsuccessful ones, this is more fun: Jake Locker, Terrell Pryor, who's a wide receiver now, J.P. Losman, Christian Hackenberg,
Oh God,
Vince Young, Christian Ponder,
And that's actually the comparison I think is the closest.
and Charlie fucking Whitehurst.
Because Ponder
Clipboard Jesus.
Clipboard
Ponder
Jesus.
also had a shoulder issue in college.
Yep.
Well, I see. Okay, so I had a little bit of fun
And was also a highly touted pick.
He was.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
because of his fucking Senior Bowl. So I had a little bit more fun. I did player comps on playerprofile.com. Shout out to them. Just for some fun talking points at the end of these. The reason I knew Mayfield is because we talked about Breeze and Wilson, which were his. Rosen is Eli Manning and Matt Ryan. What do you guys think?
I think that's too high.
I think it is too. I think that Matt Ryan is the absolute best you could hope for. I think Eli Manning is reaching too much because I don't see Josh Rosen ever winning a Super Bowl. I'm with Nick. I like the Ponder comparison.
Yeah, I think he's a slightly better pocket passer, slightly less athletic Ponder because he has the same panic as soon as he gets pressure.
It's a good upside comparison.
He's Jay Cutler.
He's not as aggressive as Cutler.
I think
He
is.
doesn't have the arm of Cutler
Yeah, that too.
Well,
or the athleticism because Cutler can scramble.
Yeah, and Rosen.
Rosen, I mean,
really
okay,
can't.
so I'm not going to try to keep defending Rosen because I don't like him as much anyways. But when I watched it, he does this guy can make every throw. He can. I've seen it. When the pocket's clean, he can make the throw.
His wide receiver just might have to spin
Yeah.
around, jump up and catch it.
He might have to do some flips.
Might have to one-hand it, do the hokey pokey. I don't really know. He can make it. It won't be on target.
Yeah. And I completely agree. But, Jay Cutler showing, we saw great Jay Cutler and bad Jay Cutler. I know Hopper can contest to that. We've seen, the best of both worlds. But he was a journeyman quarterback at the end of the day. He got drafted by Denver. They moved on from him. He goes to the Bears.
And they try to make it work.
And then they made him a bridge quarterback. He ends up leaving and then goes to Miami, and now he's pretty much dead.
They made him a franchise quarterback. He was there for 6 years.
And they fucking paid him.
He should have only been a bridge quarterback,
and
but he was a franchise.
This is what I see with Josh Rosen. That's the same career arc I think he could have.
Career arc, yes. Talent and measurables, no.
No, he's definitely. I don't see the Cutler comparison for him just because the arm talent is a completely different thing for him.
Well, when player profile makes theirs is based on metrics. That's why when they base them, that's why they're huge in their stats and their metrics. It's based on Matt Ryan and Eli Manning. They see the same things. I don't see Eli as much. I've been told with Matt Ryan, he had less than adequate arm strength for deep throws, but he was good, in that short to intermediate range is what Rosen's good at too.
Yeah. So he's diet Matt Ryan.
Yeah. With the same.
Well, and like I said, I agree that Matt
Yeah.
Ryan's the upside comparison.
Yep. Me too.
I can agree with that completely.
Yep.
I'm not knocking that one. I don't really see Manning and
I don't either.
I see maybe the Cutler career arc, but I don't see.
That's why I made that comparison.
Yeah, I don't
That's
see
why.
the intangibles though.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Ready to take the gloves off, Hopper?
Yeah, onto a guy that does have Jay Cutler like intangibles.
I have a different comparison, which should make you laugh your ass
I have
off.
a
Brock
couple of them.
Osweiler,
Can I kick this off?
Yeah. Josh Allen comes in at 4.
All right,
7.0 score. Kick
so,
it off.
So if you're on YouTube, you're about to get a visual representation. There it is. And you guys, I will need you to open up a web browser,
No.
both of you,
Done.
and navigate to draftjoshallen.com
Oh, why?
Why are we supporting this shit?
because this is awesome. And it's going to cover every point you need to know about Josh
Hashtag
Allen.
never Josh Allen.
Okay, so
Oh, dear God. It looks like a GeoCities website.
it is a GeoCities. It absolutely is. So the first point, Josh Allen is tall. He's 6'5", which is the same height as Cam Newton. Why is my interaction not working? Hold on. Technical difficulties. Give me 2 seconds.
Looks good in shorts.
Stats are for losers.
Stats are for losers.
As we just went through a bunch of stats.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, you guys want to read the rest of those off? Because I can't get my.
He has
interaction
elite
to work.
NFL size hands, apparently.
That does matter to the Nick
I don't
a lot
really
more.
I don't really care about Steven Seagal's Bitcoin 2 gen. He does have a rocket arm. He is a born winner, apparently.
He does look good in shorts.
He does look good in shorts.
You know, for those ladies out there that are listening.
Right.
Better than Sam Darnold does, that's for sure.
Sam Darnold.
He doesn't have like I just came 3 times face when he throws in the rain.
No.
So anyways.
Sam Darnold, I love your tape. Your face, though, not so much.
He's the John Mayer of quarterbacks.
All right. So anyway, yeah.
I like that a lot.
Oh man. So he's tall. He's strong. He's athletic. He's got an absolute hose. I'm talking about his arm, not his penis. Not sure about that.
Maybe both.
Took some snaps under center. He can create with his legs. He's decent outside of the pocket.
Oh, no, he's a hell of an athlete.
He's a hell of an athlete with a hell of an arm. Solid combine performance, which is actually kind of what jumped him up for me when you watch his combine drills. And nobody really jumps up a lot from the combine, and I get it. It's not under coverage. There's no pressure. But you should be able to make those throws accurately, right? And a lot of guys, especially on some of the out throws, were struggling with putting the ball where it needed to be. They're throwing behind guys. Josh Allen wasn't. So to me, that tells me that even though he's sometimes takes off and runs a lot, he does have the ability, especially if the pocket's clean, to where he could show that pinpoint accuracy. You saw it some in his tape. He flashed it. It was never very consistent at all. But sometimes it was pinpoint accurate to the defender.
Yep.
But
that's all that matters.
he does seem to play better when he's not running for his life, though. And a lot of times at Wyoming, he was running for his life.
Their team
He was.
sucked.
So, but he's raw. He opts to scramble. It's the first sign of pressure versus stepping up or trying to stay in the pocket. Again, he was under pressure all the goddamn time. And he does have very erratic accuracy. He had, again, the Jay Cutler comparison. There were some throws he made that were right on the money. There were other throws that were right on the money to the defender or nowhere close. And it's because his mechanics aren't consistent. Partially. So he's the guy that I like more than Rosen because I see Allen as having a lot higher upside if it can be harnessed.
Yeah, I agree. I have Allen above Rosen. I ended up scoring him the same, but if I was an NFL team picking one, I would lean towards Allen because it's if you're
Upside. You're looking
if you're going at a
that's
quarterback,
upside.
you're only trying to hit a home run. You
Yeah.
never want a single on a quarterback pick.
Nope. Because
He's-
it's not like you have 3 or 4 of them and he can kind of contribute or is going to rotate in or out.
Well, the Jets do.
So do the Browns.
So the Jets like to bring in like 3 quarterbacks that'll compete.
and it
Just
works.
pay 'em all.
It works so well for him.
Fuck
Right.
it.
So, Alan, as we've gone over, prototypical size, athleticism, arm talent. The thing I have the most issue with, though, is he seems to really struggle to feel of when a guy is going to come open, and he's always trying to catch up with his arm after he sees it.
He doesn't anticipate.
He has very little anticipation.
Yeah, and that's another thing that may come with the experience. It may come with being able to hang out in the pocket a bit more and not have to scramble all the time. to where he can actually process the field instead of process where he's about to be hit from. But he's a guy that I think is going to surprise a lot of naysayers in the NFL, perhaps, depending on where he lands.
He's definitely going to flash some things, I'm sure, at some point. I'm just not sure if he'll ever put it all together.
Like Zay Jones flashed on that video, or
Like Brock Osweiler.
I'm maybe like Kaiser in preseason last year, and then what we saw the rest of the time.
yeah. Well, I don't
Browns.
think he should be thrusted right into starting.
No, he shouldn't.
Unfortunately, he's going to be a top 5 pick, and I don't think he'll have a choice.
How many teams that are going to take quarterbacks, though, don't have another option?
When was the last time a top 15 quarterback didn't play the first year?
Mahomes?
Mahomes?
He did play the first year.
he
He
played
played one game.
One game.
That
He did.
doesn't count, though. That's one game in a.
The answer is it's been like it's Aaron
The
Rodgers.
answer is Mahomes. And I'm pretty sure Rodgers was picked 25.
If the Chiefs didn't have a
26.
playoff spot locked up, Mahomes wouldn't have played.
So for me and Josh Allen, he is this year's Deshaun Kaiser. I fell in love with Kaiser last year. I made that mistake.
Who shouldn't have played last
He shouldn't
year.
have played last year, but Browns, you looked okay in
They're
preseason.
gonna Browns things.
Yeah, but I see, Brock. I see Brock Osweiler here with that he can make a throw every now and then. He's got massive arm strength and he's super tall.
I have another guy who I'm going to compare to
Blake
Osweiler.
Bortles, I think, is his upside. It's Blake Bortles.
I think Bortles and Kaiser are the two comparisons I have.
So
And we know how much
now we
Hopper
know
loves
why I
Blake
love
Bortles.
him.
Yeah.
Because Blake Bortles, when I watched him, my initial thought was it was kind of like hybrid Cam Newton with the way he runs, and not necessarily athleticism, but the way that he doesn't run like
pocket.
Lamar Jackson. He runs like he's a big guy that can run a little bit.
Yeah, he's a slightly smaller Cam Newton.
Yeah, and with kind of the escapability and the athleticism of like a Wentz or a younger Big Ben. But, with him, it's not the athleticism once again, and it's not the size, it's not the arm talent. It's going to be the mental stuff.
Yeah, and that's stuff that we can't, see on film. Unfortunately, we can't be like, oh yeah, he didn't read the defense there. We may be able to see it on film, per se what he should have done, but we can't see what his pre-snap reads will say. We don't know what Wyoming wants him to do.
We're not professionals.
Yeah,
And we
don't
don't
think
have all
anyone really
22
do-
tape.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're guys that drink beer and hang out and
we drink beer and sometimes no things.
watch players and mostly use an eye test.
Though I've been decently impressed with us so far.
Yeah, no, I have too. We were pretty accurate last year.
All right. So that's it for Tier 1 quarterbacks, unless we have anything else on Allen.
I don't.
No.
Okay, let's do a beer review before we hit Tier 2, which should when things get real interesting.
All right.
Beer review.
Dude, I love this drop.
You're good. You can talk now.
That was a massive improvement over the Angels.
Yeah,
It was.
I love it.
Thank
Nice
you.
job, buddy.
Super classical. I like it. So this is 18th Street's Brewery's Sex and Candy. It is an IPA. What'd you guys think?
It's very drinkable. I don't think it does anything to really differentiate itself from other IPAs that I've had. It's kind of got that citrus hoppiness on the nose, a little bit of bitterness at the end of it. It's good. I'm not knocking it. It just doesn't really jump out.
So
It's the Josh Rosen of IPAs.
So
we
it's-
actually like it.
it's West Coast, right?
It should.
It's from
It
Indiana.
sure as hell tastes like it.
So I did a little. I did pull up their website, 18th Street Brewery. They're
Thank
from
you.
Indiana.
Not the brewery. It's
Well, the
West
beer.
Coast
It's
style
West Coast
IPA.
style
Okay,
IPA.
okay.
Not the breweries on the West Coast.
No, they're right in the middle. They're right next to us, actually, pretty close.
Cool. Yeah, it's good. It's solid beer. I would drink it. It's just,
Mild hop, very citrus flavor. It's not the super juicy New England style, which I believe is going to be on Wednesday's episode.
Yep.
So if you're looking for classic West Coast style IPA,
This is a good one.
this is pretty much exactly what you're
Yep.
looking for. Especially if you don't want something way too hoppy. It's actually for an IPA, it's pretty mild on hops.
Yeah, it is.
I believe it's 7.5%.
It's very pleasantly flavored.
All right, let's move on to some Tier 2 QBs. We actually have 2 players tied at each of these, so it's 4 players total. Coming in at 6.9, we got 2 guys. We got Lamar Jackson and Mike White.
Mike fucking White.
Which one
they
do you
couldn't
want?
be any more different from each other.
No, they could. They are
Amazing.
polar
They're
opposites.
the yin and yang of this team.
They are polar opposites because Lamar Jackson is a super athletic runner who has some questions as a passer, and Mike White is an awesome passer that makes
Peyton
Tom
Manning-
Brady look athletic.
Mike White is
It makes Peyton Manning look fast.
Mike White is a statue with a cannon attached to his arm.
Yeah, and Lamar Jackson's a cannon with a statue attached to his arm.
All right.
I don't even know what that means.
So let's start off with the moving cannon, which is Lamar Jackson.
Okay, yeah, I'm down with that. So, let's talk pros. Let's talk cons. I made it sound like I'm gonna rip him down. Anybody that follows me on Twitter is probably fully expecting me to rip him down. It's not what I'm gonna do.
Ooh.
He's athletic. He's fast. He's shifty. He's got great burst. Short and intermediate accuracy have improved each year. I still don't think that his arm is NFL level, but the fact that he has managed to improve it each year in college and continues to work on it and continues to show results, I think bodes well for him. From a fantasy perspective, you've got to love that when I pulled some of his stat comparisons, that most of them compare it up with running backs.
Yeah, he outproduced Saquon Barkley on the ground.
Yeah, he had over 4,000 rush yards and 50 rushing touchdowns in his college career.
Yeah.
He's insane.
He's an insane athlete. He's an insane runner. That type of quarterback, though, in the NFL doesn't always play. It's great for fantasy. He will give you some blow-up games, and I think that the consistent improvements in his arm do good things and spell good things for his future, which is why I like him as a second-tier quarterback, but I don't like him in kind of that top-tier level.
I completely agree. And like I'm concerned with is this. If he lands on a team that's going to use him right away, I think he's going to eventually flame out quicker than we expected. From a fantasy standpoint, he'll be strong. He's, we've seen this. Deshaun Kaiser had one of the worst seasons for a quarterback last year, and yet I think he had like 3 or 4 top QB1 weeks.
Yeah, he did.
Just because of his rushing ability. And that's what Jackson's going to bring you. But he could also end up like Tyrod Taylor, which I think could help for the longevity of his career, where he has to sit behind a quarterback, learn, and either, be like Tyrod and then, get out of that, or he'll sit behind a guy like Rodgers did with Favre, and then, then eventually build up those mechanics, and that decision making to be a better quarterback.
If his mechanics continue to build up on the way that if the numbers line up and he continues to improve in those areas at the rate that he's going, probably by year 3, he's a guy that you could plug in and start, and he's going to be Cam Newton levels of passable as a passer, but still keep those dynamic legs under him. I mean, he'll be Cam Newton.
What you're hoping for is that he turns into early Michael Vick.
You hope for that.
He doesn't have the arm strength or the deep ball accuracy to be Vic.
He doesn't, but in terms of how effective of a passer he is, he's similar
39.7%
on his deep ball.
On his deep ball adjusted.
You'd want him to be West Coast Michael Vick.
he you want to see some Teddy in him in terms of being able to be mobile, or Watson too as well.
In terms of his arm, though, I think that there's some mechanical things they might be able to fix also to get him a little bit more power.
Yep.
Because I did notice that he's kind of throwing from a narrow base.
Oh, God, I hate that, too.
He doesn't put as much of his legs into the throws I think that he could. And he doesn't drive through his throws. It doesn't
Just a lot of wrist throws.
It's a lot of wrist flicks.
Not just a snap.
Yeah, and he doesn't quite have the arm to do that.
Yeah, and he needs to incorporate his lower body a little bit more. But he throws across his body sometimes when he's on the run, almost like a shortstop.
Yep.
So
that's a great.
If he can fix some of those mechanical things, I think that he has the ability to have a little bit more throw power than what he does. He's just got some development that needs to be done. And I did pull similar players as him at the NFL level, kind of. And the reason that I say kind of is so Lamar Jackson was a 57% passer in college.
Yep.
Completion. I had to go up to 63% to encompass people that also had this type of rushing ability. However, I also had to go down to 3,000 yards in order to incorporate anybody with their college career. So I had to, and what that says to me, to put a bow on it as Nick likes me to do, is that he's a more dynamic runner, but a little bit worse of a passer than anybody else that we've really seen.
Well, and his last year he was a 61% passer?
59.
59.
Yeah,
Yep.
so like I said, he has improved every year because I think he went 54, 56, 59 or something like that.
Yep.
But the guys that for their college career, just looking at it as a whole, Braxton Miller, Denard Robinson, and Vince Young.
Okay.
2 of those guys switched positions.
And then Vince Young was
then-
fantasy relevant.
He was for a while, and then he flamed out.
Flamed out because
So-
the league caught up.
He also had some issues.
I know, but
Yeah.
that's
There-
where I see this. Though.
Yeah, it with me too.
Yeah.
But the fact that he continues to improve, if you can get him as the 4th, 5th quarterback off the board, I love it. I don't hate.
Are you talking NFL draft or dynasty there?
Well, 4th or 5th quarterback. It doesn't matter which one.
No, I think those are completely two different
I
questions.
think dynasty. I think he goes.
his one.
Yeah.
His landing spot will determine if he's going to be the 1 or 2 or he'll be bottom of the barrel. I think it will because I think he may land on a team that won't use him right away.
I think with his athletic upside, he's still the first quarterback taken in dynasties. Or one quarterback, I should say. 2 quarterbacks, I'd flip that.
And I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I might be alone here, but I'm not going to do it because I see a lot of Cam Newton do his game, and we know how I feel about Cam Newton, and we know how I feel about guys that are going to boom bust, guys that are going to have terrible weeks throwing but might be able to get it done on the ground, guys that aren't going to give you a consistent floor and that have a possibility to flame out of the league. So no, I'm not going to do that.
See, in
It
start
could
one
just be
quarter,
me, but I'm not doing it.
In start one
Yeah.
quarterback, I'm going to take the running guy.
I'm not.
Either way,
So
Different
Nick.
schools of thought.
Nick, I know you wanted to semi-defend him because Hopper didn't eviscerate him.
yeah,
But he gave a lot of great points. So love.
for me, it's just going to be that rushing upside gives him such a floor in fantasy that I think from a fantasy perspective, and that's what ended up being my tiebreaker and why I bumped him my 3rd. He's not nearly in the same ability as Mayfield or Darnold is, but he's close enough of a passer for what I saw from Allen and Rosen, and then he's got the athletic ability that I'm selling him. I'm bringing him in as my number 3 at this point.
See, for me is that I believe that Mayfield, Darnold, and Rosen will be able to. They're gonna not. I think bust as hard as like a Josh Allen, who I think will, based on where he's gonna be drafted.
I got Rosen as the
Yeah.
biggest bust candidate here.
But I think it's all gonna be based on where they get drafted. The best thing about Lamar Jackson is that he may not get drafted high enough to have a true high bust tag on him, and people kind of know what he is at this point, and that's a guy who's still developing as a passer, but he can get it done on the ground. And we saw each and every year. Deshaun Watson did it last year. Deshaun Kaiser did it last year. You can see that quarterbacks can make up that deficiency on the ground in fantasy, and they can make it last for 3 to 5 years easily. Cam Newton was able to develop a deep passing game and some massively inconsistent seasons, to boast at, but he always had the rushing numbers to do that.
And
Cam
now-
Newton's also 6'5", like 240. Lamar Jackson's 6'3" and 215.
You have to worry about injury with him, not
Yeah.
because he has injury
Exactly.
history, but you have to worry about that because
Yeah,
you look
exactly.
at similar quarterbacks that try to do this at the NFL level and they get hurt.
And he is a good runner. Like he does have some pretty, like if you want to go to running back,
He
I
has
would
a
be like,
lot of running back traits.
I see it, but he doesn't have the Cam Newton type of body to
The
take
build.
that punishment. And Cam's not the smartest runner in the world because he welcomes punishment. You see it almost every fucking year.
and I don't see Lamar Jackson sliding.
So for me, I'm torn because from a fantasy perspective, I want him to go to a team like the Bills or like the Jets, a team that he can compete and probably beat out his players. Not the Jets because I love Teddy, but a team that he can probably beat out some of the players
So
there.
Cardinals.
Yeah. And, with that way, he can be fantasy relevant right away. But for him to actually, I think, last on in the NFL without having to, change positions, I think he needs to land on a team that, he can sit and learn for a couple of years.
What scares me from a fantasy perspective is the point that you just made, which was a good one. He doesn't have Cam Newton's body.
Yeah.
No,
So
he's
there's high potential for injury, whether he struggled with it in college or not. That's just how it works at the NFL level when you have this type of quarterback. And then the fact that if the arm doesn't come along and it ends up in a Vince Young situation, I don't want a guy if I'm taking a quarterback, I don't want a guy for 3, 4, 5 years when you can get a quarterback for 10 or 11
Yeah.
in a lot of cases.
I'm really interested to see where he lands.
Or at least 6 or 7,
And I'm saying this as a side point. I'm like I've talked with Nick about this. I'm pissed that he didn't do any running at the combine.
Oh, I'm very pissed about that.
Yeah.
Because if you're his manager and you're like, hey man, I know you want to be a quarterback, but I think you should run to rise your draft stock so you can make as much fucking money as possible. Because let's say he said himself he could probably run a sub 4.40. I want to fucking see that. Because if that happens, he's top 10 easily, I think.
Yeah, if he comes in and runs, and we'll share this out. I think we've actually shared it out before, but just our board of all the numbers, and it's all color coded. If he'd come in and just everything was just bright green for him,
and he would have, because he's that athletic of a guy and he's great in the open field. But he didn't because he wants to prove to the league and to the owners and the GMs that he can be a passer. I watched him throw. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but he needed to run to boost his draft stock. Now, if he came out and said, I didn't want to run because I don't want to be a top 10 pick because I don't want to have that top 10 title on me, I respect that. Hey, don't say that, but he should have ran. He should have tried to boost it and make as much money as possible because let's face it, it's a short-term career, in the NFL for a lot of these players. Maximize your income.
I like the drive to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he puts in work and you can see the results looking at when you compare his college seasons in that aspect. There's some things that scare me with him, but overall, I think that he'll probably be okay. I don't hate him. I'm not in love with him. I like him, but I don't like him.
And that's why he's tier 2 for most of us.
I'm intrigued.
I'm the only one that has him up in tier 1, I think.
He's intriguing for sure.
I only have two quarterbacks in my tier
Actually,
1.
yeah. That's probably a better way to put it. I have 2 quarterbacks in my tier 1, and I probably have 6 in my tier 2.
Same here.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Which we'll talk about soon.
Let's move on to the statue.
The other guy.
Mike White, 6'4", 224, ran a 5.0940.
He's negative 470 rush yards in his career, negative 3.5 yards a carry. Trent Richardson is blushing at that.
Yeah. If a 4th grader came around the edge, I don't think he could get away.
I don't think he could either.
You fall over and coddle. Just
Yes.
all right, I give up.
When a guy comes over, he sees the pressure coming, and he tries so hard to get away, and he can't.
He just
Every
can't
now
do
and
it.
then, you're like, yeah, and then you're just like, nah.
If
you
you're,
ain't
in,
got
a,
shit,
if you're
bro.
in a foot race with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, you might come in last.
Rich Eisen might be able to beat him in a 40.
I think Rich Eisen runs close to like a 5 even. So
yeah,
yeah,
he probably could.
in a suit.
In a suit.
Oh,
no
my
less.
God.
Oh, God. That was
So,
so
but enough fun about athleticism. The other parts about him I actually really like.
Yeah.
His arm strength, I think, is probably second in the class from what I saw. It's
Ba-
second or
ba-
third.
top 3, top 5.
He's top 3 to me because I think people forget that Tanner Lee has a fucking
I did
of an
forget about
arm
Tanner Lee. I try to forget about Tanner Lee.
because of everything else.
Besides his arm.
More on him
Yeah.
next episode, but yeah.
Solid accuracy, mechanics look good. If he wasn't the worst athlete in this class, he would actually be really tantalizing.
I like him just as a good day 2 guy. 'Cause I think you will go 3rd round.
He should.
He should. And I
Davis
think
Webb went
He's going to sit
3rd round,
behind
and he's better than
but
Davis Webb.
That's
For
because
sure.
the class last year was bad after tier 1. But Mike White, it's a good pass. He's smart as fuck. This guy can make some of those sliding throws. Like I watched Mark Walden's breakdown of him. He did a play breakdown of his mind. Shout out to Matt Walden. That he can slide around the pocket. He can read on all levels, and he makes some of those Tom Brady-esque throws. Now, he's like most of the guys in this draft. He's very inconsistent with that at times, and with his mobility, it's tough. If you can't throw on the run, you're not going to last on an NFL.
You got to be able to run to throw on the run.
Yeah, and he's more of a statue.
Yeah.
Statue.
The thing I liked
Statue on the run.
The thing I liked about him that jumped out to me that I didn't really see anybody else in this class do, he anticipates guys coming open.
Oh, but he's really good at that.
He's a great anticipatory thrower, and I didn't see that anywhere near this level from anyone else in this class. He's got a pretty deep ball. And the last 2 seasons, his game really, really went up. If you look at his last 2 college seasons versus his first 2.
And he lost a really, really good pro prospect after last year in Taywan Taylor, and he still produced without him.
Yeah, he did. He got a ton better. Above 65% completion the last 2 seasons, above 25 touchdowns with less than 10 interceptions. He's the anti-Lamar Jackson. He's a great passer with a great arm and no athleticism.
Yes. Literally a negative athleticism score.
Yeah, if you could have negative athletic scores, if you could have a negative spark score, he would.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
would love to see what his spark score was.
The only thing that might save him is his weight, because that's based on how your speed is based on how much weight you're carrying. And he's only 224. He's actually not even that big. he's just slow.
Yeah, but yeah, he does look awkward throwing on the run. But what he does in the pocket and his ability to anticipate his throws and work defenses and not turn the ball over is.
He'll need to get better against pressure. He was he took a massive dip in terms of his numbers overall.
And I think a lot of that's
pressure.
A lot of that's too. He just
his
can't escape.
That and his O-line is just fucking garbage. It's all up in his face.
It's Western
right away.
Kentucky.
Yeah,
he's gonna have to have a line for sure.
Yeah, he will be a old school pocket passing quarterback.
Yes, he will be.
But I like his mental game. I like his accuracy. I like his arm strength. There might be something there for somebody who's willing to take a chance on him.
He'd be a good one to go to like maybe the Chargers or something like that and sit behind Rivers.
Yeah, or New Orleans.
New Orleans and sit behind Breeze. One of those teams where he can just hang out for a couple of years that are already that type of team, though.
Yeah, and his actually short range and like screen accuracy was fantastic. So I'd love to see him with Kamara.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's it for the 6.9 guys. Let's move down to 6.7. First, I want to talk about the guy who I think we're the only people who like him, period, and that's Kurt Benkert.
We might be.
I've looked at other people's lists. He never shows up anywhere. It's just us.
I've come down a little bit, just looking at PFF's more deep in stats numbers against like the pressure, deep ball and things like that. But I think he's going to be. I think I called them this year's a Peterman, where
He didn't play anything like Peterman.
I may be thinking of somebody else. I kind of get at this point.
I can't compare him to anybody else last year because he's not top tier, or not in line with the top tier guys from last year.
If I was to compare his game to anybody, it's Mahomes light.
Yep, I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, kind of.
Scratch that.
He's arm strength. His mechanics were horse shit.
Yeah, he's got top tier arm talent for sure.
And he's pretty accurate. He made a lot of throws falling away. I really enjoyed watching him, and I was watching his tape.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this guy.
Yeah, he doesn't take unnecessary risks like Mahomes does from time to time. I didn't see a lot of throw into triple coverage or anything like that.
Yeah, he lacked that kind of Favre. I'm just going to make, or Rex Grossman. I'm going to throw it
fuck
deep.
it, we're going. I thought he had a little bit of an arm delivery. He kind of slingshotted a little bit, but he gets a lot of power behind those throws. Mm-hmm. He's got a great arm, just a little bit slow on the release. Scrambles, pocket control was another thing I kind of noticed. He will scramble versus step up or slide in the pocket or stay in the pocket, but he can throw on the run, so that's okay. So he's a guy that we might be the only ones that are high on, but he's intriguing.
Oh, he's absolutely intriguing. I love that when he does scramble too, he doesn't try to take off and run. He keeps his eyes downfield.
He does.
He's a moderate athlete, so he could run when he has to, but he didn't try to run unless he absolutely didn't have any other options. Size is a little small, so there's definitely a few knocks in his game, but he had enough traits that were that is really good to see that it bumped him up my list for me.
He's a good day 3 prospect quarterback.
Yeah, early day 3.
Yeah, like round 4, round 5 guy that you can draft. Maybe you got something, and you see what's there. At worst, he's a good backup.
Yeah, I think that he's got more upside than the next guy we're about to talk about, who is probably a little bit safer. Or I think that we're about to talk about, who's probably a little bit safer.
Yeah, the next one I think I might even sneak into round 1 is who we're going to talk about next, which is Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of question marks about his game. Dan, I know you're the biggest fan of him, so we'll let you kick that off.
All right, so Mason Rudolph, big guy, tiny hands. Obviously, Nick hates him because he has fucking small hands. That was the first thing I think Nick mentioned to me. He goes, "Look how small his hands are." I'm like, "Hey, he plays quarterback. It's not the world's worst
hand
thing."
size is really important for quarterback.
I know, but still,
Yeah.
They're literally touching the ball more than anyone else.
Speaking of which, draftjoshallen.com.
Jesus. So this is what I saw from him. He feels well. He feels pressure well in the pocket. He can move up and down, slides up the pocket fairly well. His best part of his game is his accuracy to the out throws, which is one of the more important throws in NFL. He can throw receivers
Josh
open.
Allen's combine.
Yeah.
We're done talking about Josh Allen.
I'm never done talking about Josh Allen.
Never. He is a tad bit inconsistent on the deep throws. I will give him that. His combine deep throws were fucking garbage.
Shit.
See, the issue with his deep throws, he has terrible arm strength.
Yep. It's average at best, maybe.
Though he'd launch these deep throws to guys who were 10, 15 yards open, and it would just float.
Yeah, and then he had James Washington, Marshall
8
Aitman. He actually has some pro caliber players here that he threw to.
Could adjust.
Yeah, I like him just because I see the upside. I see the fact that he is fairly accurate. He can make some of the tougher throws that you need to make in the NFL. I want to see a little more consistency, in those short slants or those intermediate slant route type of throws, and I want to see him. Be better with the deep ball. I do like him as a prospect to sit behind a quarterback for a couple years. A lot of these tier 2, 3 guys are going to be that same mold. I want them to sit. I want them to learn. I want to see what happens. I'm seeing a lot of buzz with him going first round. He's not a first round quarterback. I know he's big. I know he's got some upside to him. But in terms of these guys who I think who could end up becoming something else, I think he has a decent chance because of his accuracy, which is something that is a lot more important than just arm strength.
See, the issue he puts the ball at the right spot, but it takes so long to get there. You watch him throw out routes, and the ball just floats.
And a lot of that's going to be with coaching. I think his arm strength isn't as bad as people like to make it out to be. A lot of it is with his velocity. How tough, how strong of a throw can he make? It's not how far he can throw it, how fast of a throw it. And he needs to get better at that. He needs to fix those mechanics. A lot like Lamar Jackson, I think he can fix the mechanics part of his game. And so he can get there and throw with more velocity to fit in those tight window throws, which is what he wants to make.
All right, and then the other big complaint I'd have about him is if he gets moved off the spot, his game really starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
He needs to. He basically lives in the pocket, and anything outside of that, he really struggled with.
And his biggest weakness is the offense he played in, because of the air raid type spread offense that he had, wide open receivers a lot, which is why his deep ball accuracy looks a lot better than what we may see on tape, is because he's throwing the wide open receivers most of the time.
Yeah, he was putting the ball exactly where it needed to be, but it would take forever to get there. The cornerback would close, and then the receiver would have to make a play on it.
This is why
he's got to put so much air under it to get it there.
Yep. So there's just, and the thing is, I didn't see anything. Even though you're talking good about his accuracy was good. It wasn't amazing.
It wasn't Baker Mayfield, but I think he has the second most accurate passer out of these top two quarterbacks.
I had him noted at slightly above average.
Yeah, that's similar where I ranked him too. For me, it was the lack of any elite traits and some concerning ones that bumped him down my list.
Hey, we agree, because the last note I had on him was his overall grade was meh.
Yeah, Rosen and Rudolph were the two that I've heard a lot of people hyping up. When I watched their tape, I just kind of went, eh.
Yeah.
I was just whelmed.
Yeah, I'm not overwhelmed, but whelmed. That's not he's another guy who, like Rosen, I think could be a journeyman at some point, or a bridge quarterback at some point, but I don't see him latching on as a franchise anywhere.
Yeah, what was the comparison for Rudolph?
Let me pull it up here. Scroll it down here a little bit. Rudolph, he didn't have any because he didn't do enough of the metric runs, the play profile.
Okay.
Which I was a little upset about.
Because, when I was watching him, he was...
There's a lot of buzz around Baltimore. I'm taking him in the second round. I think he's not a first-round quarterback. Just like Rosen, I don't want him to go as high enough to where he'll get a true buzz grade put on to him. But I think I see enough with his accuracy. I think you can work with his decision-making and his mechanics with the coaching staff to get better. I waver with more accuracy more than just arm strength. Just because you can fix arm strength a little bit.
You can tweak mechanics, but if it's not there, it's still not there. Accuracy.
Yeah. And this is also tier 2. I mean, I don't want to argue too much about,
no,
most of these
I don't
guys
either,
may
because
not
this is a
be-
guy that, from a fantasy standpoint, you're probably not drafting.
No, it'd have to be a super flex.
He'll get a little bit of
league
love.
to draft him.
Yeah, exactly. He'll get a little bit of nose.
Yeah.
But in any sort of start one QB league,
You're not-
none
No,
of these are being drafted.
none of these
This
guys.
is more
No.
for you should know these names, and they should be
Watch list.
They should be watch lists. If any solid buzz starts coming in training camp, you
or
might
if
stash
you
them.
do play 2 QB and super flex, and this is where you're looking also.
Yeah.
Which we're going to be in our first super flex league this year. So
Yep.
Woo.
look forward to that.
Wait, we are?
Yeah,
Next
I'm
week.
going to start a super flex dynasty league.
Oh, that's what you're doing with the other podcast league.
Yep.
Cool. look for that coming. Look for a lot of fun podcast stuff coming up over the summer as we head to fantasy season. We're going to do some more stuff with you guys.
All right. This took longer than I was expecting. I think that's enough on quarterbacks. Should we call it an episode?
Let's call it an episode.
Yeah.
As always, Beerfield Fantasy Football. If you want to see the YouTube version of this episode, if you're already watching, thank you for doing that. You can catch us at BeerfieldFF on Twitter for any stats, blind players, and
See if I
comparisons.
got this right. It's up there. Yep, I got it.
Perfect. So thank you so much for tuning in. Anything else before we call it an episode?
Nope. Just make sure if you're not watching on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Beerfield Fantasy Football.
Yep.
Individually, I am at Hot BFF with 2 P's.
I'm at ThurryBFF, 2 F's.
And I am at Nick Sparts. We will catch you guys next time on Beerfield Fantasy Football.
Wednesday, where we talk about the other quarterbacks.
It's going to be ugly.
Yep.
More beer.